Hey y'all, welcome back to Ole Makes. So, gonna continue our Valentine's Day series here, and something that I saw online inspired this, and kind of giving it my own little twist. And we're gonna be doing some testing of staining wood to get a red color, a little yucky suggy bonbon, and some more experimenting. So you want to see how I pulled this off? Stick around. Alright, looks like that's good and toasty here. We'll give it a little bit to cool itself, and we'll start grinding on her. It seems pretty cool, so we'll go ahead and see what we got here. Got that taken care of. Definitely think a brush with the wires coming out completely perpendicular to the shaft would be a lot less problematic. It was kind of a pain to keep that cup brush at a good angle so it didn't go across the hard grain and went with the hard grain. But overall, it didn't do too bad of a job. I think that looks all right. Definitely for what I got in mind. And let me get something to cover the bench with. And we'll go ahead and get to staining this with the good old Kool-Aid. Okay, we'll call that good for a first coat here. That is very close to exactly what I am looking for this project. We'll see. I don't think it'll lighten up a whole lot by the time it dries, but I'm gonna hit this far side for me a little bit more. Now we'll give that a good chance to sit and think about things. Try not to stain my fingers up. And we'll take a look at her once she's had a chance to dry. Let's take a look here after it's had a little bit to dry. It doesn't look like there's hardly anything on the surface. That pretty much all soaked right in. It's not looking too bad, so I think I will go ahead, get this piece cut off so we can do something with it. Back at the laser here, I'm gonna just use the laser to draw up the plans right on the wood here, all my cut lines, and got a couple holes I need to drill. I'm going to mark out and everything. Designed it all in light burn, so we'll go ahead and get that running. Alright, that just took a couple minutes. Let's take a look-see. that should do. Line's pretty fine. I don't know if this will actually pick it up. Not really. You kind of see, there we go. It is the outline of a heart. So I'll get this on the bandsaw and get this trimmed out. Handy little light I got from Big Orange though. So this is what we end up with. And I think you can kind of already imagine what I'm doing here. If you see right up here, you can see these little dots. That will be for the stitches. And we got them on this piece as well. So not too shabby, still pretty happy with that color. I have decided with my advanced years, I'm going to use a sander because I have it. And now, I'm not sure if I want to drill the holes now or after I do my second attempt at baby power carving. Hell, I might as well drill them now. And I'm not going to be able to take the camera over to the drill press because it is a disaster, so I'll be right back. I decided against the drill press altogether. Since I already got the drill out, might as well just do this the normal person way. Yeah, I think I would have felt pretty stupid using the drill press for that. That would have been a lot of prep for nothing. To go through and touch up that stain here before I sew everything together, along with staining the edges. Don't think I'm going to bother staining the back. I'm going to hang this on a panel somehow. Just not exactly sure how yet. But it's real simple. Then I'm going to weave that cord as stitches back and forth through all those holes. I've seen it, I can't remember where I saw this project originally, but I've seen it a lot of people using like leather strands to do it, which looks nice, but I ain't got no leather. So we'll go ahead and get stuff cleaned up here and get ready to stain the edges. Big surprise, changed my mind. I am going to do some, we'll call it baby power carving, because I am definitely not a power carver by any stroke of the imagination. I've tried this once, and the little piece of wood I was testing on got real intimate with the garage door here. So we're gonna tempt fate and give this a try again. And what I'm gonna try to do is just do a little, almost like a scalloping around the border on both of these, and then I'll probably go ahead and get the edges stained. And I wasn't going to stain the scallops at first, but I think I'm gonna now. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see how it turns out. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and plug in. I don't think I'm done. I think one other thing I want to do, these holes are a little too perfect. I want them, we'll say, a little bit more rustic. Let me grab another bit here. I don't know the names of these bits at all, but this is, focus, what I actually just used. And I'm gonna go at the holes with this. Okay, that's a little bit better, I think. And I am still unsure if I want to stain those scallops. I may just stain the edge, and if it bleeds into the scallop a little bit, go ahead and let it, but not actually try to cover the scallop edges. We'll see. I'm going to hit these with some air, clean them up, and give me a minute to think about it. Looks like everything's dry here, and it did actually end up bleeding over a little bit more as I let it set, but that's all right. The back didn't really take much staining, but this is completely unsanded, just however it came off the defect cart. Or you can see anywhere I sanded it, it took the color quite a bit better. So it seems the Kool-Aid has enough pigment in it to really carry and settle, unlike tempera paint. But yeah, you can really see here, since this is completely unsanded, it's real blotchy, real hit and miss. But we will make do with that. Now what I'm going to do here is stitch this together. And I've been going through my mind most of the day how I'm gonna stitch this. So okay, so this is kind of what we're going to be doing here. And it is getting a little tight by the time you get 6 strands through one of them holes. So I might run into a little touch and go, but let's try to readjust the camera so you might actually be bit more of an aerial view. Zoomed it in a little bit. We'll see how the quality comes out on the zoom. And we'll get back to stitching here. Actually, that holds together pretty damn good. And there we go. That's the bulk of the project. So now I think I'm wanting to put something on this. Figured out what I want to put on it. I toyed with the idea of carving it in there. Since the scallops didn't turn out too bad, then I came to my senses and figured I'd probably lose a finger. I got a lot of practice to do before I do letters. I did a little test and it's ugly. So I'm going to do the lazy man method and run it on the laser. I'll show you when it gets out. Fresh off the laser, let's take a look, see at what we got. Not horribly disappointed. Figure if we're gonna be forced to partake in the Hallmark holiday that they call Buddy Day, fine, Valentine's Day, might as well have a little bit of fun with it. And if you've been in a relationship for more than, I don't know, 6 months, you may be able to relate to this. So I think what I'm going to do now is probably throw down some paper, and I'm going to hit it with some shellac. I would like to paint the letters in, but my hand's not quite so steady. So we'll give it a shot here and see how it turns out just with the Champion's finish on it. Okay, we will give that a minute to cure and come back and see what it thinks. Gave this thing a couple more coats to seal her up a little bit, and after hemming and hawing about it, I decided I do want to fill these letters, which might be an adventure in its own right. I am not so much an artist, but I think it would just look a little better with these letters filled in. I'm just not hugely impressed with the contrast for those letters. Got all those letters filled in here. Doesn't look like the shellac completely sealed that wood yet. I didn't put enough on, I guess, for the letters. So it is soaking in a little, but it is starting to leave some of the pigment behind. So at this point, I am going to let it completely dry. And then we will see what kind of color we have left behind. And if I'm going to continue on with this pink, because I could add a little bit more paint to water it down a little less. It just flows real good. And who would have known shish kebab skewers, just some regular plain Jane bamboo ones, was the best thing to paint with. But we'll let that dry up and soak in, let that pigment settle down, and see what kind of color we actually get. Paint finally dried. I think this is all the further I'm going to go with it. I actually went back and put a little bit more tempera paint in that bottle. I had to undilute it a little. The pigment wasn't staying. It was bleeding out. It's just too thin. But I think we got this kind of where I want it to be. This is kind of what I was going for, at least for a first run. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Thank y'all for hanging out again with me, and we'll see you next time on Ole Makes.